just heard about somebody said sleep. Yeah, I can hear that. No, I can hear people talking, saying, "What? What are you doing today?"
When a little boy thinks he's Superman,
oh, I know.
Then he almost can. He almost can
Yeah,
fly.
what can I do about that? That's Ronnie.
When he takes his toy truck and drives
oh, God.
through the sand.
I need to get that off.
The boy moves mountains with his little hand. And the world really is magic. Nothing could be clearer. Nothing could be clearer. And then somebody says no, it's all a trick. Done with smoking mirrors. Cigarettes make up last call.
I did it. Well,
Whenever a man
Ronnie and Boy are there with Mom tonight.
is down upon his knees,
Mom, you vote.
more than likely he's praying for redemption.
I'm trying
But
to
when a little
check
boy
this out. I'm going to look debonair.
prays unto the Lord,
I've always loved that word, and I've never had it used.
he can almost hear
What do you think?
the Lord
Am I more
listening.
debonair with or without them?
And the world really is magic.
I don't think
Nothing could be clearer.
we're still on.
Nothing could be clearer. Then somebody says no, man, it's all a trick. Done with smoking mirrors. Cigarettes make up last call.
I didn't hear. You can't hear what I'm saying right now? I don't have anything to say on that. Ask me what Will and Hunter and Joe and this person talked together ago. Have you touching on some of his raises I thought the other day? So I have a question for Joe.
When a little boy thinks he's Superman, then he almost can. He almost can fly. So close to dreams, so far from trials. And I'm that little boy
I have a question
again,
for Joe.
every once in a while. The world really is magic. Nothing could be clearer. Nothing could be clearer. Oh,
Well, hello out there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see everybody for a special afternoon edition of Hippie Fiasco Rides Again. I have my father on the line, and he's here to hang out with us. And we have no plans, really. We'll see what happens. Let's just go. Let's just say hey to him right away. Joe, my brother, his son, is watching by the river with his wife, and Dad says he has a question for Joe.
Well, if Joe is down there by the river fishing, first of all, congratulations. That's a wonderful place to be. And secondly, two questions. One, have you caught anything and what's biting? And two, have you cut down those branches that I was catching the other day yet?
You were out there catching branches?
Yeah, I caught 8 branches and no fish. And I told him when he gets rid of some of the branches and puts more fish in, I'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't fishing very well that day, but I didn't like all those little twigs hanging around. Every time I'd cast, I'd wrap around one. Joe had to go in and save my bobber one time. So it wasn't a good fishing experience, but I'll be back.
You'll be back.
Those are my questions.
Well, there's usually like I don't know, some weird long delay between when we say things and they hear them, and they say things and we hear them. But I'll definitely be your conduit to the chat here, so you can communicate with whoever's watching.
You see, I have friends in Russia, and they don't have that problem.
What do you
hear everything? Well,
they hear everything immediately?
Yeah, because they're not getting filtered by the Russians.
That's probably why it takes so long to get back to us. They have to do their thing with it first, and then allow us.
Yeah.
Joe says he's using corn on a bobber, but only one bite.
Mm.
Now a bobber, for those that don't know, that are just tuning in. Oh wait, we have a knock on the door. It's Daniel.
Oh wow!
How about that?
What?
All right.
Hey, hey everybody!
Oh, this is so great.
This is so great.
Oh, look at Eva back there. Hi, Eva. Hi, Eva.
Hello.
Oh, there's Lucia. Oh, look at you, Lucia. I hear you're potty training yourself.
Doing
I
so
hear
good.
you're doing so good.
Are you learning to go potty?
We're so proud of you.
You can go in the big potty now with a potty.
Hello, Eva.
You can go in the big
I
potty.
can't hear you. I hope she doesn't think I'm not talking to her, but I can't hear her.
We hear you.
Can you hear Daniel?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can't hear him?
No, I'm not. It's not coming.
Oh
through.
no.
Yeah, tell him.
Click on his screen and make sure he's not muted. You should be hearing him.
No.
Look. So click on the window that Daniel's in and click on the 3 dots.
Up in the right-hand corner.
Yeah, and then if it
Is
says
large, full screen, disable sound.
so it doesn't sound like it's muted yet. But
I just hit disabled sound and
Can you hear us?
that went away. Now it says enable sound.
Yeah,
That sounds like
yeah, dude, hit the enable sound.
I did.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Nothing's coming through.
Okay.
Say something else, Dan.
Can you hear us? Here we go. Check.
No.
Huh. That doesn't make any sense.
Sorry, Daniel. Do sign language.
I'll interpret everything he says.
Yeah, just pretend we're talking in Latin.
So what is this?
I had a question for Daniel.
family chat or what's happening?
It's in one of these books here.
No, we're actually live on the air.
Awesome. Say hello, everyone.
Yeah, we're Hippie Fiasco Rides Again, Facebook Live, Hang with Dad.
Boo! I do see.
So how are you guys, Dan? Or what's your MO at the moment?
Well, I've been doing school online for the past 2 weeks, but now I'm entering into spring break leading up to Easter, so that's good. It's been a lot going on, and
I see you.
we're
Look at
kind
Eva.
of up
Oh,
child care.
Wait, say that
I
part
do
again?
We're kind of cooped up, we don't have much child care, so we're having to balance kids and work plus renovations on a new house. So it's a lot going on, but
It is a lot going on.
it's been a good outlet. It's given us something to do. Sometimes a little stressful sometimes, but
When are you supposed to move into the new house?
move in May 1st. We just gave notice to our landlord, so the clock's ticking. We're currently painting everything inside and renovating the bathrooms, and we're now at a stage where workers or Joe and I began at least the demolition on the bathroom, and then
Ooh, we lost him.
there we go.
now
Then,
he's on full.
Now we're to the
Wow.
point where building things back, and Jocelyn's doing all the tiling. So Jocelyn's about to start tiling our bathroom.
So you guys are doing all the renovations yourself so far?
No, well, we've got a contractor who does like a lot of the more advanced stuff, but Jocelyn is doing the tiling herself.
Mm-hmm. I was really, Mom was having some work done on her house, and I was really nervous with the contractors coming and going with everything that's going on.
Yeah, it is something to think about, but it's usually just
Get that out of the way.
one or two people at a time. It's not a big operation.
Right.
Then,
So you guys are doing good, or is the quarantine a new family reality, or is it just like making things a little bit harder?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just made things harder.
Yeah.
Goo goo gaga.
I wish Dad could hear you. That's sad. What was your question for him, Dad?
It's not appropriate right now. I've lost you. I have now Daniel and Lucia and Eva on full screen. And I can't get it back.
Hit the escape button.
Where is it?
Maybe top left of the keypad, or top right.
All right, that worked.
All right.
Didn't learn something new there. Yeah, I wish I could. Yeah, I wanted to ask Daniel if he was familiar with the writings of Lucian.
I don't know Lucian very well. Why?
He asks why.
Well, it's a Greek writer, and I'm reading a book called Classics for Pleasure, and it talks about him being very funny and has a good sense of humor, and was very unusual for Greek writers. And I was just wondering if he agreed with that, if he had read him, and if he thought he was interesting. I haven't read anything.
Reputation, but I haven't read him well enough to add much to that.
He says he says he hadn't read him enough to add much to that.
Okay.
It's cool.
So
He can actually hear you, which is makes it my job a little easier.
Yeah. Well, So Lucian can hear me, and Eva can hear me. Eva, can you hear me? Hi, Eva.
Wave
You
to him.
can't hear her. But there she is. That's you. I'm waving to you, Eva. Lucia, I'm waving to you.
Dana's watching on Facebook, and she says, "Hi, Daniel and the girls."
Oh,
Anna,
that's great.
And Joe is watching from the river. He says, "Hello, Squumpkins," which apparently is spelled SQWUMPKINS. Squumpkins.
I'm not
That's
sure
a
we know that
spelling.
word.
That's a spelling bee stumper right there. Squumpkins.
Use it in a sentence.
Exactly. Hello, Squumpkins. Look at those eyes.
Oh, this is great. This is worth the price of admission. Oh, I'm sure this is what our people that tuned in are wanting to see.
Family time's a good thing.
Mm. What's that rolling your tongue thing? That some people can do it and some can't.
That is one of those things.
I don't know what
I can do it.
percentage. You can do it. I don't know. Can
Sorta.
you do it, Dan? Can Dan do it?
no.
You really can, or you really won't.
Don't stick out my tongue. Actually, not polite, girl.
It's not polite.
He does not have to answer that.
So Dan, you've been teaching online. Had you ever done that before?
Girl, stop it. Stop making noise. Not exclusively. It's, there's some things that are okay, so girls, quiet down. I've been using Google Hangouts to meet with my classes, but not for every class period. So we did keep a schedule, so I can meet with my classes if I want.
Uh huh.
Do that about once a week. Otherwise, I record videos.
Oh, is that
And,
Zelly?
I
Hi,
have
Zelly.
like online quizzes and things like that.
Oh, Zelly made an appearance.
But this
Zelly.
is pretty indicative of
Hi,
the
Zelly.
challenges you face
Hi, Zelly.
online. And you don't have childcare. I mean,
Hi, Eva.
this happens when I'm trying to teach online too.
All right. Right.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I'm honey. I'm so
But yeah, that's kind of what life is like.
Yeah, it doesn't quite compare, but when Kether definitely had a whole moment the other day with Percy and the cat when she was trying to teach online, and the cat kept jumping on the keyboard, and Percy kept barking, and
Yeah. I'm sorry. I know he's got a little scratch. So it works. I know. We're talking to Nathan and Granddad for a minute.
Hi, Zelly.
The hard thing is,
Hi, Zelly.
especially at the younger ages, we deal with a lot of kids who don't have great internet access, or are having to balance all sorts of things at home, and so we're having to be everything has to be flexible. But the hard thing is I have to keep up with like all the students individually,
Oh.
and it's
Oh,
exhausting. Not to mention they're young enough that they're not really good at using email, so it's just really hard to communicate with them.
Right. Right.
Do you know what?
What?
I have a schedule
Oh,
for Easter.
A what?
A schedule for Easter.
Oh, a schedule, really? A lot going on for Easter, huh? How many days is Easter? 3 days?
What's the schedule?
I
Yeah,
really want to
yeah, what's the schedule? Dana wants to know if the girls have a song they could sing, too.
Do you guys have a song you can sing? Lucia's singing. You gotta say that. No, that's not a good song. Lucia is singing a song. Lucia's kind of stealing the spot.
That's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
oh my goodness.
What's that song?
It's called IIE.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Oh.
Lucia's getting to be a little ham.
Yeah, this is handy. Handy. No, this is nothing. Right now. Nothing. I got one. Eggy, Eggy, throw it in the trash. No more candy for you today. You have to find your candy. I hope you won't or you are gonna be banished. What do I do? So go and find your
That's a good one. Did you write that?
I made it up.
You made it up. That's good.
Oh,
she's got the schedule.
All right, let's tell.
Way down south where water runs go, a grasshopper stepped on an elephant's toe. The elephant said with tears in his eyes, "Why don't you go pick on someone of your own size?" Way down south okay, let me do a different one. Way down south where a face that cut stepped on a face's head, and the face's said on the tears in his eyes, "Why don't you go pick on somebody your own size?" And we don't we're bananas.
Why don't you do the one?
The secret of the polar bear is that he wears long underwear.
Of the what?
The secret of the polar bear is that he wears long underwear.
I gotcha.
I am. Know how many I am?
5?
Yes. I thought you would say 4. I'm 5, though. I thought you would say 4.
That's pretty old.
I'm almost 6.
You're getting old.
On my next birthday, tell me that. Do you want to see my foot?
Hey, foot. What's your foot say?
Do you want to see my other foot?
Hey, other foot.
This foot is in pumpkin dress. This foot is in red velvet dress.
You could draw little faces on your toes, and you'd have a little foot choir. They could all sing. They could put on plays. You could draw a little.
Yeah.
Oh, the schedule. Is this the famous Easter schedule?
I start singing right now, but you can't hear.
What's on the Easter schedule, Eva?
I'll go get my Easter schedule. Do you want to hear this song? Blah blah killa shakalaka boom, that's in the vasto kala boom.
What language is that?
Real English. That's English.
What did you say?
That is English.
I know, but what did you say? What are the words to that song?
Baba galagoo, makalakaboom.
What's that mean?
Nothing. It doesn't.
She said nothing, Dad. It means nothing. I wish you still can't hear them, huh?
Haven't heard a word.
That's too bad.
It really is a shame.
This is my
You
schedule.
interrelating there.
Try unplugging the headphones and see what happens.
Ah, that's it.
All right. Now what?
Let's see if you hear them. Oh, I'm gonna echo now though.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear them?
Nope.
Okay. Plug the headphones back in. Then.
All right.
This is my whole.
No, do that. You can show her Easter.
Oh, whoa, look at that.
Yeah, she's right. She wrote all those. She's writing on her own.
I didn't see you really well.
And so yeah, you can see. Stop. I'll show the Eva's Easter schedule. You can see
Yeah, there.
Easter.
Okay.
Maybe class. Easter class.
Easter class. Okay.
Next.
Easter class and what else? Egg play.
Okay.
Egg play. An egg play.
Anyway, you guys get the idea.
What's after the egg play?
What's after egg play? No, don't do that.
The funny thing eating on Easter.
Yeah, there's eat.
Always good food on Easter.
Look at this. Stop it.
All right, stop, girls. All right, we're gonna have to go make dinner.
Oh, I love you all.
Love you too.
I wish Dad could have heard you.
Say bye bye, Uncle Nathan.
Love you.
Bye bye.
This is the Bible.
See you soon.
This is the Bible.
Say bye bye.
This is the
Bye,
Bible.
Lucia.
Son, Daddy.
Hi, Lucia.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, Eva.
Bye. Bye.
Where's Zelly?
Look, I just flipped you around. There's our window.
Look at that. There it is. Is that some, what is that? Is that some gardening going on out there?
No, that's just our yard. And I don't know.
So flip it around.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
Flip it around. Why did you say bye when you turned it off?
No.
Oh, what a treat.
Yeah. I wish you could have heard them, but you can go back and watch it when we're done and hear the songs.
Oh, that's great.
I can smoke again. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in out there. It's Hippie Fiasco Rides Again, special afternoon edition here with Dad. And we will be right back. I'm going to play a little video for you. I got a couple of things. Here's a new mask hack from our buddy Lex Park. Check this hot tip out. I don't know why it does that.
So it's
Well, sorry, folks. That video doesn't seem to be working at the moment. Although I do know a way that I can cheat the system here. Let's try this. Yeah.
Everybody, we got a new mask hack for you today. Actually, it's just a mask hack because it's not a new mask hack because I haven't done a mask hack yet. So there's nothing new about it. It's just a mask hack. So what you do is you take your bandana, got a purple one, and it's a little stretchy because I've had it on a different way, but I'm going with a new way today. And so we go like this, you fold it like that, then you fold it again. You got a nice little rectangle here. Get yourself some hair ties, just regular hair ties. Wow, 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 they're stretchy. Okay, so you put one on the end, like this. Feed it through a little bit. Okay, just like that, about there. Then you take your other one, and you put it on there.
cool.
Put it on there.
How many people are
That.
on?
All right. I think you see where I'm going with this. So you fold this over, like that. You got your mask, you put it on. You slip this up behind your ears. Voila.
These days when you're feeling alone, just roll over to your bedside table, pick up the phone and call your friend. Don't hang up, just stay on the line. All you gotta do is call one time.
Okay, so this one's going to freeze now, too. This software, I tell you what, we got into a fight last night and it still hadn't forgiven me. Oh, I don't have sound either, and the videos are freezing. Ecamm and I got into it last night, and apparently it's still holding a grudge. I thought it actually won last. I should be the one with the grudge, but it doesn't want to work for me. So we're going to. Ha ha ha. Got you.
Nothing can divide us. No virus can define us. You are not alone.
So good. So good. Yeah, you have to watch that back and see that. Dad hadn't seen that yet. All right, Dad, we're back.
Alrighty.
Isn't that well done, everybody? Thanks for joining us out there. Hey, Jesse. Hey, MC. Hey, Shannon. Hey, Josepha. Kindy. Aaron. Good to see everybody. Yeah, that's a really, really well done piece. Where did you go to junior high? What was the junior high school when you were? Did they have a junior high? Was it Shelburne when you were a kid, Dad?
No, they didn't have a junior high. I went to Lehigh in the 8th grade.
Oh, wow. So,
And,
well, no, that's what it normally is, right? No, it's ninth grade now.
it's ninth grade now.
Right. So is elementary school all the way up until the 8th grade?
Yeah. Went to Thomas Jefferson. Well, first I went to Stonewall Jackson just to get all of our Confederate generals in.
Right.
And then I went to Thomas Jefferson, and then I went to West Side Elementary. And I assume I went there through the 7th grade and went to Lehigh in the 8th grade.
I guess
So it's good.
West
Yeah,
Side, was that the one I went to? That was it changed to AR Ware before I went?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Did you? I've a couple of times told this story, but I don't really know if it's true. Did we have the same teacher? Ever have the same teachers? Was there a teacher that taught you that also taught me?
Mr. Robertson was probably there at the same time, but I didn't have him as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He was a math teacher who was a good friend. Well, worked with him for 20 years, but I never. But I think he was a young man when I was a student. He was there.
Wow.
Oh, old teachers. You didn't have Mr. C, did you? Was he still around, Mr. Cachapalia?
No, I don't think so. How about Harris?
Um, yes. Well, there were Connie Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she teach you?
No.
Right.
I think she came a little later than me. No, I can't think of anybody that was, of course, Charlie Kurtz was our principal.
Oh, when you were a student?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, he was a young football coach from University, full of himself.
That's so classic. Yeah. Legend.
Yeah, he was a legend, or is a legend.
Uh huh. W in the chat says my dad and I had the same second grade teacher.
Who was that? I can't remember second grade. I don't know grades.
Yeah, elementary school's foggy.
Yeah.
So what's
Yep.
the latest on your end? I like the new scene here in the library. It's looking
Yeah,
good up there.
the library is a new place. This was an old extra bedroom that we had a bed in, but nobody was using much. And I decided I'd take all the books that are getting all around the house, and they were still shelves at Joe's place out at Trinity Point, and we brought them in here and brought all my books, and I'm tickled with it. I haven't got the furniture in that I want. I want people to come here like a library and sit and read and meditate and get away from the world. It's a place for me and other people to go when they need to.
I love it.
So that's my down the road concept to
What
get away.
what books are you reading now?
Well, I'm as usual. I always try to have one novel going. Um, I've gotten into borrowing. Something happened. My battery is running low.
Uh-oh.
I might have to go back downstairs at some point. I'm gonna close this, but if it tells me again, I might have to leave. I didn't know how long it would last. I've never really used it much without it. But I was to say, I've taken to getting my sister's book. She's in one of those book clubs, and they read a different book, and she'll read them and talk about them and bring them up and leave them for me. So I
Uh-huh.
end up reading books that I would never pick out. And the one I'm reading now is called Pachinko. It's about the Koreans and the Japanese and that relation. I just started it, so I don't know anything about it, so I don't want to talk about it. But the one I read before was called A Gentleman in Moscow, which I never would have never read that book. And I
It's just a
it's a
story.
novel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's by Amor Towles, and it was on the New York Times bestseller list, which I assume every book that's ever been printed is on the New York Times.
It,
Every
it
time I've ever seen a book, it's on the New York Times bestseller list, so I assume they all are. But yeah, I would never have thought I would love this book, but and it's a great book for quarantine because he was quarantined for 40 years in a hotel in Russia, and
why?
his he was a nobleman, and the Bolshevik Revolution took all the power away from the people that had the money and the aristocracy, and
Right.
he should have been killed. His friends were all killed, but they let him live for because he had done some patriotic work before, whatever. But he was such a wonderful person that everybody loved him, and great story, a great read. Let's put it that way. It's not a great story. It's not much story to it at all, but it's fun. And then I've been reading. I went back and found in my library something I hadn't seen. I found about 4 volumes of old Sherlock Holmes adventures.
Ah.
So I took one down, and I've been thoroughly enjoying Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and his writing of the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. That's the other thing I'm
Oh,
reading.
so wait, what is the memoirs? Is that not a
It's
mystery?
it's it's short stories.
Wow.
It's short mysteries, so you can read them in 1 or 2 sittings, and it's the same stuff but just in shorter little things. They're not long, so that makes them better in my mind. But yeah, that's
That's cool.
that's been fun to go back and read.
I've always enjoyed the idea that how Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was completely hoodwinked by fraudulent spiritualists that claimed they could help him communicate with his dead wife. And he was deep in that society for a little while, completely believing and enmeshed in it, until some of the people that he was actually dealing with were proven to be charlatans.
Right.
I'm
Well,
like, this
it
guy
was
invented Sherlock Holmes, but he still was duped.
right. Well, that was a time when there was a whole lot of that going on. There were several famous people that were involved with that very strongly, and were convinced that there was something going on. And I was reading a long book about William James, and he went through that too.
What
And
was his?
he wrote on philosophy and religion. His father was a great religious writer, and his brother Henry was a great novelist, and William was one of the great philosophy guys of the 19th century, late 19th century, and fascinating man. And but he was into it, and some people did push the right buttons, and when you can't see how anybody could possibly know that unless they were talking to that person right then, it's very convincing.
Right. It really is.
Yeah.
What?
Because even though, no matter how scientific you are, there's stuff out there that you don't have any understanding of how it works. It's still a mysterious world out there.
Right. That's the thing. There's like that. It seems like the more you know, there's a certain level where you're just all right, comfortable with, like, okay, I pretty much have a solid grasp. But then if you keep learning or whatever, like, you get down to the quantum physics and all that kind of stuff, like, the mysteries. It seems like the more you learn, the mysteries start to reopen themselves. For a while, there's a learning curve of, like, okay, I got this figured out. But if you keep going, you get back to the mystery again.
That's very well said. Yeah, through science, something like chemistry, you can figure out the chemistry of something, and then it makes sense. And then you go on, you say that makes sense. But then there are always going to be things that you cannot measure, and that chemistry cannot answer, and that you cannot do a controlled experiment of, and you are left to figure out for yourself what you think is going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's still wide open. And science has answered a lot of questions, but there's still a lot more that are not going to be that open to answering.
Right.
So, I think sometimes people think that science knows it, but I don't know enough science to know it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Oh.
Uh-oh. I think that was the sound of him realizing that his battery just died. We heard the final. Oh. I think we heard the of the uh-oh. I think that's how much. Oh, I think we missed the oh. We heard the of the uh-oh. So I imagine he's now on his way to the. This is down at the Newtown Baking, where the local community is organized on their webpage. You can go to Oh, cool. And my video's now on Hippie Fiasco Rides Again on YouTube from last night. Had to edit out a little bit of magic stuff. But you can now go to for local Stanton residents to Local Food Drive. It's localfood-drivethrough.org. Here I'm setting it up so I can show you the web page. I have video that we took there yesterday, but the videos are just not working until I restart all these apps. But then I'd have to disconnect from you, and I'm just not going to do that. But here's the website, and that's at localfood-drivethrough.org, Stanton's local food drive-through, and it's super easy to do. Here's how it works. You can click on how it works. It's 3 simple steps. You just click this button down here, Shop Local Food, and you can do that anywhere from today through Monday. Ordering opens Saturday morning at 8 and closes Monday evenings at midnight for the week ahead. Then you drive to Newtown Bacon on your chosen day and time. A gloved helper with verified body temperature will place groceries in your car without making contact. Wave and smile knowing that you are helping keep local food businesses alive and your own dinner wholesome and delicious. So that's all here in Stanton, and these are the local farms that are contributing. Geezer Farm, Newtown Baking, Polyface Farms. We got cheeses coming from Ballerino. We got the Malcolm's Market Garden, Mill Gap Farms. We got coffee from Traeger Brothers. We got Verdant Acres and Fireside at Oakley Farm. Delicious food, locally sourced. And again, that address is localfood-drivethrough.org. And I did shoot some video yesterday showing how good of a job they're doing down there, but videos are not working for me at the moment. So you're stuck with me, stuck with looking at my mug. Here you go. I can make it. I like this look with the big lights off. All right, let me get set up here again. Guess we could sing a song while we wait on Dad to get back in. Oh, was I muted over the whole description over the webpage? Oh my God, that's just the worst. That's just an Ecamm thing. Every time I switch to something else, it automatically mutes this microphone, which sometimes is really great. And other times it's really terrible. Gosh, I just gave you all the important information too. Well, I will reiterate that the address is localfood-drivethrough.org. Click on how it works, and you'll see everything I just said that you couldn't hear. So localfood-drivethrough.org. That's just here in Stanton, how to get your hands on some good old local produce, baked goods, cheese and coffee. I mean, what else do you really need? All good. Sure, we'll get Dad back in here in a second. His battery died. He's now resetting up shop downstairs, I presume. Hard times ain't just some old folk song. Hard times ain't just some old folk song. Oh no, hard times still going on. And thanks to the cheap walls of some of these motels, I hear these conversations, some of which I never would retell. But it doesn't feel that far away when you hear somebody yell, go to hell. I asked the weatherman, he didn't know what was up. The boss man told the doorman, sorry man, can't pay you to keep it shut. Just then the optimist chimed in and said, hey, at least we got this half-empty cup. Oh, hard times ain't just some old folk song. Hard times ain't just some old folk song. Oh no, hard times still going on. Oh, Dad's calling. He's calling. Hello. Uh-oh. Can't hear him. Hello? Oh, I thought that would work, but it doesn't seem to be. Wait, let me try. Here, I'll call him on the phone. Hey Siri, call Dad.
Calling Dad home.
I hear the kids outside playing.
Hey there.
Hey.
I don't know how to get back to you. I'm back downstairs. My battery ran out.
Right.
Upstairs. So I'm hooked up.
Okay.
I got back and then it said to knock and it said waiting for reply and nothing ever happened.
Oh, I might have been singing. Knock again.
Tried to go. What?
Knock again.
Well, I lost it since then. You're going to have to take me back to that whole site because I lost it on my computer.
Okay.
You know, whatever that is. I can go back to Facebook.
Here, I'll send you.
See, I can see you now on Facebook talking, I
Okay,
guess.
okay, I'll send you a message with the link on Facebook. On Facebook.
All right, I'm right here.
All right, here it comes. Just sent you the link.
I hit that thing up at the top, but it took me to your website, but it didn't take me to you.
I just sent you a message.
All right.
I've danced a lot of dances, sung a lot of tunes, known a lot of people, had a many moons, worn a lot of faces, worn a lot of hats, and I laughed a lot of laughs just like my dad. I'm a chip on the old block walking in his shoes. Daddy's little boy paying daddy's little dues. Born in October, daddy's big surprise. I'm a fine young man, but I got my daddy's eyes. I had someone request that the other night.
I haven't heard you sing that in a long time.
I haven't sung it in a long time. I did.
Well,
I don't feel like it's the best song ever. I mean, there's a lot that I love about it, but I feel like I would write it better now.
well, I think so too, because I'm better now. When you
I love
talk,
how you like you remind me that in fact I wasn't Daddy's big surprise.
right? No, I remember we had a big discussion about this. Well, maybe a couple.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, probably a couple white Russians in and told you that I didn't appreciate the idea that I was a runaround man that
Right.
left a lot of women just like my dad. And
Right. Right.
I said, I've never left anybody. They always leave me. No, I said, well, I said, things happen, but I'm not really that guy.
Right. Right.
And, and, uh, and we talked about it, and I thought maybe you stopped singing it just to say, just because of that, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
There
There's
was something
definitely that
like,
in there for sure.
yeah, I mean, you were talking about me as a younger person, and you're also talking about the guy that left you.
Right. Right. Right.
The father that left you, and there was a little of that in there. Uh, I'm a nice guy, but I still could be a little bit like my dad. Well, that's not a real positive thing.
Yeah.
But that's what I meant by I'm mellowed out now. I'm not as obnoxious and not worth being like as I used to be.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Let me take this
Yeah,
harmonica off. Yeah, and of course at the time I wasn't just writing about you either,
right, right.
because you start out writing about one thing, but then you just sort of accept anything your mind throws at you, and sometimes you're like, I don't know why I'm saying this now, but here it's what came to me to say. I don't even know what it's about anymore, but I'm just fielding these things as they hop into my lap.
That's a great observation. It's something you can think about there along the same lines is what people are hearing when you sing the song.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I was writing you and you were a little bit bitter about me being who I was at a certain point in time, well, there are a lot of people out there that feel that way about their fathers,
Right, right, right.
and they and, and they
It's
pick up and
archetypal to a certain extent.
yeah, I mean it's not anything unusual. So they feel that and they enjoy that. Um, I remember one of your friends used to like to hear that song a lot. I was thinking, yeah, you must be having something going on there.
Right, right,
But I mean, it wasn't. I mean, mostly it was a nice song. It was a tribute.
right.
It wasn't a bad, like you were saying, I was an asshole. But um, that. But yeah, I'm going back to that point. There, it's interesting because when you write a poem or something, and you are saying one thing and you're thinking one thing, but you're also thinking if you're an artist, you're thinking about how are they going to hear it? How is that person going to hear it? Let me ask you something. Do you ever write for one person or what one group of people would say or a category of people or do you
No,
write
I can't relate to
without
that idea.
yeah yeah but you do think about it after you write it about how people are going to react to that word that you chose to use.
Right,
Because that particular word could be taken in two ways, and it could be negative, but there's an easier word, but you want this word,
right,
and you
right.
want it, and you choose that word knowing full well that some people are going to misinterpret it. That happens a lot. I think a lot of
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, I mean, there's probably a lot of writers that lived a very solitary existence just so they could say what was on their mind.
mm,
Because if you have people close to you, I mean, it's a game changer in terms of just pure creative flow.
yeah, that's a good point. I hear you. Yeah, that's an interesting observation too. Um, most writers do have definitely tend to be people that live in themselves. Uh, a lot of their life goes on inside their brains and their minds and their spirits rather than out in the real world. So, um, and a lot of times you don't want to hear other people's opinions. You just want it to be a pure statement of yourself. So there's that.
Right.
I don't know, but I'm going to try not to look. Somebody told me I looked like I was in the morgue last week. Especially when I couldn't think
Which
of what I was going to say next, or what I had just said, and I just sat there
which
for.
probably wouldn't be that weird if we weren't under this weird pandemic quarantine situation.
Well, yeah, I don't
I
know.
just think, like that reference, that morgue reference wouldn't have been necessarily the same.
Oh, okay.
They,
Well,
they,
that's
they
exactly what we were talking about just now, isn't it?
context changes everything.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Hey, your mom is watching us right now. Yeah. I just, mom just popped up in the chat and says, Nancy and Ronnie and I are listening. Nana has the tablet. Hi,
Oh, hi,
Nana.
Mom. Hi, Nana. Sorry I didn't make it over today. I was preparing.
He had to get ready for the show.
I had to get ready for showtime, but I knew that Gloria was coming. And hi, Gloria. Hi, Ronnie. Uh, Glad you're over there enjoying the evening with my mom.
For sure.
That's nice. I hear there was meatloaf around. I'm gonna be
Mmm.
over. I'm gonna
Meatloaf.
probably be over there tomorrow. If there was any meatloaf in the kitchen, I can get rid of it for you.
Well, there's nothing like a meatloaf sandwich.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's something so good
Whew.
about that.
Yep,
Plenty of
I'm ready.
ketchup, mushy white bread. Mm-mm-mm.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
You used to make me Vienna sausage sandwiches.
Did I really?
You cut them in half and put mayonnaise on it, and it was the most delicious sandwich I ever had.
Well, I'm glad that wasn't in the song.
See, it could have been worse.
I mean, that's drowned. I mean, that's almost as bad as the girl threw bleach on that guy the other day.
Yeah,
Son, eat this. You're gonna be all right.
yeah, which would you rather be, the archetypal philanderer or the guy that gave me Vienna sausage sandwiches?
Yeah, I can argue out of Vienna sausage sandwiches. I can defend them.
Well, they were delicious.
Well,
I still could eat one to this day, and it would just like ring that same bell because it's such a nostalgic memory that it would be delicious to me still, even though
really,
otherwise I probably wouldn't care for it.
what would you put on it? Mayonnaise
I'd
or
do it
ketchup?
exactly like you did, just mayonnaise.
Yeah,
What else you gonna do to that?
yeah, yeah.
Although we did here at home recently to rediscover, maybe much to our chagrin, the marshmallow fluff.
Marshmallow fluff.
Yeah, was that more of a mom thing than a you think? Peanut butter and marshmallow cream.
Oh yeah, no, I love
That's what
marshmallow
I
cream.
thought. Yeah.
In fact, that's interesting because I think there's one back in the thing, but when I got diabetic, there's probably one in the back in the pantry about 10 years old that I might knock out tonight because my blood sugar's down now, so I can have a sweet every now and then.
I always get that backwards, the diabetic thing. So you can't have sugar.
Yeah, if you have diabetes, you can't control your sugar. So if you eat sugar, nothing's going to control it, so you can have a high sugar attack. But on the other hand, a lot of times, if you're diabetic, because you can't control it, you have low sugar attacks too. That's why it's confusing.
That is why it's
Most
confusing.
most people get in trouble with a low sugar attack because you can faint, and then while you're fainted, you can go into a coma, and if you're alone, that could be bad, serious. Whereas high sugar, you just get all these different, you get cold sweat and you get you know there's something wrong.
So there's
But
some like perfect amount of sugar that we normally have.
yeah, your body, just like everything else, you have a regulation system in your body that your insulin is the chemical that is trying to do that. That's why if you don't have any ability, I didn't have type 1. That's where you just can't make any insulin, and you have to have the shots to control it your whole life. Mine is stage 2, which means you developed it over a period of time. The results can be the same, but in my case, once I changed my lifestyle some, I went back and I'm looking at my blood sugar. The medicine that I was taking uh, actually lowers it too much now. It does too good a job, so I have a low sugar attack if I take the medicine I was taking. And he just said, just stop taking it, and we're all right. So now I can have ice cream. I can't have a
That's
White
pretty.
Russian, but I can have ice cream.
That's
I'm
pretty
excited.
exciting.
It's worth living.
So we we all need sugar,
Not necessarily. I mean, bread is sugar.
right? It's found in everything,
Pop,
fruit.
yeah, I mean, fruits is sure, but what I'm saying is a carbohydrate is nothing more than a bunch of sugars stuck together
Mm,
chemically. So that when you eat potatoes or bread, your body breaks it down. When it breaks it down, it finally breaks it down into sugar and then it eats it. It's just a food. It's just something you use for energy. So you
right,
take pure sugar, you're just nailed. That's why kids run around act crazy when they have a lot of sugar. Um, but if your body can get sugar without eating pure sugar is what I'm saying.
right,
Just everything you eat can just about is either except for proteins and fats. So it's a whole different ballgame with those guys. But everything else is going to break down into sugar anyway. Uh, so there you go. I think I explained that.
yeah.
Well, anybody want to talk about something?
Let's see. Let's see what's going on here in the chat. They're talking about meatloaf sandwiches. John Dotson wants to know what school of meatloaf makes the best sandwich, the ketchup version or the gravy version? Oh, that's a no brainer. It's definitely the
Yeah.
ketchup version.
Oh yeah. Sandwich wise, you got to have it. I think to put gravy on a good meatloaf is to change it into another dish.
Yeah, what even is that? I mean, it's just another
Yeah,
area of the country or something. I
yeah.
never heard of such a thing.
No, I've done it. It's nothing bad and gravy. But it's mashed potatoes and gravy and meatloaf. Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah, that is good.
Nothing.
I could see that for sure.
Yeah, but if you want that meatloaf with that uh, ketchup topping and you cut it off the next day and you have that little slice of red on the top. Then you layer or slather a big old thing of ketchup across the whole thing and
Mm,
fold it over and take that first bite. Hmm.
man, oh
Yeah.
man.
Yep. Yep.
I'm regretting my decision last night. We had hamburgers last night, and there was a moment where I was like, we could make a meatloaf. I was like, nah, let's do burgers. But now,
Yeah.
first time I'm starting to question that decision.
I never made much meatloaf. Uh, it was more trouble. It was a lot of trouble. Like you say, you got hamburger there. The
I don't know.
burger's pretty.
Meatloaf's almost easier than hamburgers though, because hamburgers you have to tend them when you're cooking them,
Yeah, that's true.
and you have to
Depends on
fire up the grill. If you do it, we did them on the grill, so there's all that. Whereas with the meatloaf, you just mix it all in one bowl, throw it in the pan, throw it in the oven, and walk away.
This is true. I agree. That's a good point.
Joe Moore says, "What type of bird do you think Nathan most closely resembles personality-wise?" It's a great question. Good question, Joe.
Oh God. Okay.
personality-wise.
Yeah, personality-wise,
That's a tough one.
yeah.
Would there be a looks-wise? Is there a bird that looks like me?
No, there was one about 60 million years ago, but it's extinct now. And,
That's because they didn't listen to me.
take a left. We want to be mammals. Oh, let's see. I'll have to think about that.
Jesse says owl.
Jesse's
Who?
being really,
Who?
really
Me?
nice.
Who? Me? Who?
Nah,
Me?
well, I get the nocturnal part. That works. You don't know. Owls to me are not active enough for what I think of you. They're just sitting up in a tree watching. You're not that guy.
Right.
Um, uh,
It had to be like a little neurotic builder bird that's always just making something.
um, well, I think it's now I'm going to another train of thought. 'Cause
Or
now
one that won't shut up.
I'm thinking about singing.
Mm.
Um, yeah, a bird that has a yeah.
John Dodson is wondering if wren would be a right answer.
Oh, wren's a good answer. I like wren. Yeah, they're perky and they're sneaking around and they're always checking everything out. Um, yeah, I think that's a good one. I'll leave that. If I come up with a better one, I will. But I'm happy with wren, and they have a good song too. They sing. They're good singers.
We have a lot of wrens here at the house.
I love them. I don't have house wrens. Mom used to have house wrens. I haven't seen them in a year or so. But I bet Gloria's got house wrens. But I never have had a house wren nest here or even stay around. I have the Carolina wrens, but I like those house wrens. Now they don't really sing. They just kind of scream out a whole bunch of notes as fast as they can. Weird songs. Well, I guess they do. It is a song.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, wrens. I like wrens. I think there's another bird. I'll come back with it maybe sometime.
Are there any birds that you know of that are new to our area in your lifetime? Or any birds from your childhood that no longer are around here? Could be.
There's more of those.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, whippoorwills. You used to see, you had Bobby Whitescarver probably has some whippoorwills, but I haven't heard one at Trinity Point in years. I don't know if Joe has or not, but you used to hear them all the time. I used to see 6 or 7 in the road driving out to the bull pasture in the morning. See these red eyes on the road. Remember that?
Sort of, yeah.
You'd see these pair of red eyes. They'd lay on the ground at night because the road was warmer, and they were warm. And so you'd come over a hill and there'd be these 2 red eyes, and they'd fly away. And those were whippoorwills. But whippoorwills and quail is the other one, the Bob White. We used to have a lot of them around, and we just don't have them anymore. So it's very sad. There's a lot of birds that we don't have. The ones we do have that question, if it is, it's probably an invasive species that you don't want.
Right. I was wondering if Joe was still listening. I was wondering if he could confirm whether or not he's not seeing whippoorwills out there anymore. He says nay to whippoorwills. Mom says blue jay and chickadee have pretty voices.
Well, blue jay can have a pretty voice. It can also have one of the most obnoxious voices in the world. So I agree and disagree.
Right. It can be a pretty scrappy little hectic bird, aggressive.
Oh, there's nothing nice about a blue jay. I'm sorry
Little
to the
punks.
asshole.
Little punks.
They're assholes. They're they're abusers.
Oh, Mom says she saw 2 bluebirds at Nana's last week.
Ah, yes. Now the bluebirds. That's a different story.
I'm glad they're still finding Nana.
Yeah, I saw a pair too there the other day. They usually nest next door. They put a nest. They put boxes out. And they're usually around.
No, Dietrich says, "How about a snipe?" There you go. Maybe that's the bird I'm most like personality-wise. The snipe, especially in these parts.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, what do you know about a snipe?
Well, you know, I mean, I think the fact that it's an actual bird is part of what makes the legend of the snipe so strong, is because you can actually, I guess, look it up in a dictionary and convince yourself that your cousins aren't just trying to fool you. I I definitely got sucked into the snipe con. Do you know anything about? Is that something that y'all did that was done to you as kids, Dad? I don't even know if people know what I'm talking about.
You'd have to be really old to identify what I'm going to say, but I think it was a Spinning Marty, which was a Walt Disney. They used to have these little shows that they were like sitcoms, but they were on Walt Disney and things. And I might be wrong about any of this because I'm talking about my memory. But we're talking about in the 50s. There was Spinning Marty, and I believe that on a Spinning Marty episode, they had the first snipe hunt I'd ever heard of. Which they had the little boy standing there with the bag at night, waiting for the snipe to run in, and just like you, I guess. And that was the first time I heard of it. I'd never known anybody till you that fell for it.
That can't be true. That can't be true.
Well, no, you're not. I said you're the only one I know. I wasn't around people that snipe hunted or that pulled that on people, except for those nasty cousins of yours.
So I can't remember. Was it me and all the cousins that got tricked by you and Buddy, or was it?
No.
Was I the foil? Was I the ultimate foil?
I think it was Eric. Somebody like Eric.
Right.
Did it. No, it was a kid thing. I wasn't. We weren't involved with that. We heard about it, but we didn't do it.
I forget what all you had to do to catch a snipe back then. It was something involving a flashlight and a brown paper bag, I think. I don't really remember that part.
Yeah, you should have not. You shouldn't have fallen for the paper bag. I mean, come on. What bird's gonna stay in a paper bag?
You know, I think one of my worst traits and one of my best traits is how gullible I am. I was always very gullible, and I still am pretty daggone gullible.
Yeah, that's true. And you're exactly right. It's a weakness and a strength. But you know, it's hard. I don't know. It's getting hard to be gullible. I would think.
You mean dangerous or hard to be gullible?
Yeah, it's hard to survive.
Right.
As long as you have, being that gullible, because you can get taken.
Right.
Because there are people out there that do nothing but make a living off of people's gullibility.
Well, I'm also very skeptical of people.
Well, there you go.
So I don't know how that all fits in. I think it's...
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. But that's one reason you've survived.
My gullibility. I've been hurt so many times that I'm still gullible, but I'm very, very cynical and skeptical at the same time. It's a tough... It's an exhausting mix. It's an exhausting mix.
You're talking all the whole time you're complaining about how bad that poison tastes.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Mom says Ronnie says it was a burlap bag. Yeah, that does sound right. That's how you're going to catch a snipe. So,
Exactly.
so Mom is in the chat, and I think she's saying that when you say Ronnie sure does, is that, are you telling a story about Ronnie going snipe hunting? Why does he know so much about this burlap bag? What do you think about how smart apparently ravens and crows are? Have you ever read about that or seen any documentaries about that?
I have. I have read several books about that, their intelligence, and I've seen a video about the intelligence of birds. And there is a book out now about how intelligent birds are, and there are several chapters about corvids. Corvids is a fancy name for all those guys, including blue jays, by the way. Blue jays are
Blue jay's
corvids.
a corvid?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. And
What is
they're
it?
sneaky.
What does it take to be a corvid? What does that
Well,
mean?
it's just a family of birds that are DNA, genetically related. They're in the same family.
Hmm. So does that
They
just mean they're all descended from the same ancestor in some way?
pretty much, yeah, the same branch of the family tree. They all have branched off a little bit lately, but they're all coming from the same branch. So there was, you know, um, they're related in that way.
Oh, is that an alert?
Oh, I've got a call.
Is that
Can you put?
is that your ring?
Yeah, I have a friend calling from the West Coast. I need to take this call.
Okay, take the
Oh
take the.
no. Well, I'll call her back.
Okay.
Uh, I'll call. I'll call her back after on the next break.
Mom says Uncle Ronnie was the one that got tricked by his uncle, and then he did it to several guys. So he passed on the tradition.
That tends to be the way it gets carried on.
I feel like I instigated a snipe hunt at some point or another, but I can't remember.
I bet you did.
Got to
I never.
pay it forward. The dark
Exactly.
version.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I never did snipe hunts.
I'm trying to think of the right question to ask about these smart birds, but I don't know if I'm a smart enough bird to ask the right question. But I feel like that's an interesting idea, but I'm not exactly sure what would be the right question to ask about these smart birds.
Well, you could say what makes them smart.
What
You
makes
know
them
what?
smart?
Well, the thing that they find is that they're very creative in the way that they're good problem solvers, and they can take a situation and figure out a new way to get something like a bug at the bottom of a bottle. They'll figure out a way to get a stick, and they can figure out a trick, and then they remember it, and then they can go back and use that trick, and pretty soon their babies use that trick. So they're hand on. So they learn things that other birds just kind of do by imprint or by you know just their own instinctual way of handling things. But the corvids are more creative and problem solving. It's like the coyote being sneaky and smart and knowing how to get around. Know every door it ain't locked when no one's around, and that
Right.
type of thing. So that's that's what corvids are good at. But they're not really that good. None of them can read or write. Um,
Not yet.
Not yet. Now I won't say they can't talk. We just don't understand them. They can definitely talk, but
They
we don't
communicate to each
understand them.
other.
Exactly. And why would they want to communicate with us?
It's so
That's
hard for me to get. Oh, by the way, W in the chat says they can remember faces.
there you go. Now, how that's hard to do.
Wonder how they
Yep.
even test that.
Oh, they can test that one easy. Just have a face.
I spend a lot of
Repeat it.
time thinking about not understanding, like, the imprinting instinctual stuff that you alluded to a second ago, in terms of, like, you look at a bird's nest and it's such an elaborate creation, and they weren't taught how to do that, so that that knowledge of how to build that nest is in some way imprinted, but in a way that that dictates their actions.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a good thing not to have trouble getting your head around, because that's a I have I mean I don't think anybody really has figured that out, how that can translate in the molecular sense of how is that held, how is that memory held inside, and where does that stop and where does that start in terms of memory, things that happen to you. Um, it's kind of like the hundredth monkey thing,
Mm-hmm.
where you know they do it accidentally and then they learn, and then the family learns, then the tribe learns, and then somewhere over on the other side of the island they're doing it too. It's like convergent evolution, or but the way it works in terms of the imprinting itself on your DNA code and how that's reproduced, I don't get that either. I don't. That's a difficult concept to grasp.
Do you, Sometimes I have the theory that maybe there's more of that architecture that exists inside us than we're aware of, but we have these active imaginations, so we're not really in touch with that. Like, maybe, I don't know, like maybe the loudness of our own thoughts overrides some of our built-in wisdom. I don't.
Well, I think one of the things that you hear, I don't know where they stand now and all this, but there was a time where, they were saying, and I say they, I don't know who they are, the people in the universities and the psychologists and people that write the books about this stuff were saying that man doesn't have instincts. He's a blank slate type of thing, and he gets everything by learning. Well, that's just not true. That's what a lot of people think, and for the most part, you're right. We do think, we do learn and think and figure out our lives with our brains, but uh, in some sense, in a lot of cases, when you learn that stuff, you're overriding instincts to do it. So you come
Right.
up with a different answer. Altruism is a good example, where purely biologically speaking, you don't really want to give up your life to save another person, but on a certain other level that you have figured out for yourself, you think that, yeah, that's the best way to be in this world. So you override instincts with your intelligence, but to say that we don't have instincts, I think, is way off the mark.
Right.
That's kind of like saying we're not animals.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, is one of my greatest pet peeves, is people that don't know the difference between an animal and a mammal. Where they'll look at you and you'll say, well, you know, they'll compare you to a fish, and you'll say, well, I'm not an animal. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
didn't explain that very well, but you know, we are mammals. We are animals. I'm
Right.
sorry. Get used to it. But it's always like, I'm not one of them. I'm a human being. If you're not a mammal and you're not an animal, then you're you're a plant.
Right.
You're just a plant. And I'm sorry. I apologize to the plant lovers. They're not just a plant.
I, I, I I can already feel the plants hiring lawyers now to
Uh,
sue the webcast.
I embarrassed the plants and pissed off
Defamation of character.
yeah, that was wrong, and I apologize.
You ever hear the stories where they've hooked like or I say stories, maybe studies where they hooked like electrodes up to plants or something, and we could hear them scream when we bit into them.
I've read stuff about how they communicate and things like that. Yeah.
You think there's any truth to that? Is that a
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I think I read somewhere the other day that you don't really need to uh, talk a whole lot if you don't go anywhere. In other words, it's the movement of an animal that creates a need to communicate.
hmm,
Whereas if you're living, if you're right there, if you're a tree, you know, you talk to the other trees through your root system, but other than that, what are you going to say to anybody else?
right, right?
There's not much you can say. Where I'm living, you're alive. Let's do this. But
You're just like, I got this.
yeah,
I got this. Over and over again.
yeah. But
It,
yeah, I think there's a whole world of plants and things like that. But that's true of all of our different life forms. They all have their own way of seeing that they're important in the world and doing what they can do to be what their genetic imprint said they should be.
do you think our consciousness is continuing to evolve?
I think it definitely has the potential to. Yeah. Hmm.
What would that what would that mean? Is there an example of how it's evolved so far to where we are now? Like
Well,
actually,
yeah.
well,
I
I
mean,
mean, as a scientist, like, is that an appropriate use of the word evolving, and
yeah.
why?
Well, yeah. Yes and no. Um, we are evolving, but the whole idea of evolution is not like everything changes and you get better. What happens is you change, and then sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse.
Why
So,
would you evolve to worse?
well, because you don't choose to change. Your genetic makeup changes accidentally through mutations. And then the mutations are they're accidental mistakes. But basically, nobody's trying to improve, they just screw up. They want to replicate, but then they don't quite lock up the right way and they end up being something different. So you end up with a longer neck. And then everybody makes fun of you in the third grade. But in the seventh grade, you can reach the leaves that they can't.
But
And
isn't that sort of part of the point that, like, it might be by mistake, and some of those mistakes might be worse, but the ones that are end up surviving are improvements that help you survive, right? Or is that not true?
that's exactly right.
So
But
over the
what
grander scheme, the evolving is sort of getting better in some way.
true, true. On the other hand, you can evolve in a certain way that works for you, and then the conditions can change, and you
Right.
end up having an adaptation that was good at that time, but then the climate changed, and you're out of luck. So,
Right.
I mean, you see things specialize so much. I mean, you look at your bird, all your nature shows. This bird's adapted to a cactus in Arizona, and he's the only one that can reach that deep. And he's the only one that can pollinate that cactus. Well, they have a great relationship, but what happens if one of them dies?
Right.
So what can be positive at one time ends up being negative later down the road. Um, that's why you get something like a possum who hasn't changed hardly at all, but he's not, nobody's, and I don't want to do the possum theory, but I could.
Well, I mean, the possum obviously exists in a niche in this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, he does everything wrong, but he has a couple survival tricks up his sleeve and he's thriving. He's the only marsupial in North America. How embarrassing is that? You got Australia's got these beautiful marsupials, koala bears.
Koala bears,
Yeah,
kangaroos.
what do you got in North America? Well, we've got this. It's called an opossum. It's called the Virginia
I
opossum.
like that. That's my favorite part.
I hate that.
Why do we
I
get credit
mean,
for that? Why are blamed?
yeah, because that's where we saw the first one in Jamestown. They were crawling out of trash cans in Jamestown
And hissing.
and hissing. Yes, you don't hear them having any intelligent conversation.
Joe Moore says, "What are your thoughts on intentional theory of evolution, which states that an organism knows what it wants to be and that affects its gene alignment of DNA and MA?" Did that make sense? Should I read it again?
No, no, that's fine. I'm thinking about it. I'm not. Uh, I'm not real familiar. I haven't read much about that. I hear what he's saying, and I don't know. I'm not. I tend to be skeptical, but I'm not. I don't have enough knowledge to really say what I think there because I'm not sure. The answer is a definitive. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah, I'm not
sure.
even sure that I understand it. That an organism knows what it wants to be, and that affects its gene alignment of DNA. And so,
So
like the
during
like the
its
giraffe
lifetime,
knew it wanted to have a longer neck.
yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I think it's where you live your life a certain way trying to do this, and so you end up passing on that need to do it. And I don't know. I don't know.
I really
Yeah,
that I do struggle understanding like the intermediary stages of things. Like I understand like a giraffe evolving this long neck so it could reach the leaves that were high up in the tree, but how did it survive for the thousands and thousands of years it took to evolve a long neck? You would think that that couldn't happen quickly.
well, um,
And why didn't it just keep doing what it was doing? How did it know it wanted to reach those leaves up there? Which is sort of more to Joe's question in a way. Like, did the giraffe in some way desire those leaves up there that affected its evolution into the long neck? It seems like there had to be some force that decided that was a good idea.
well, yeah, that's um, well, it's two different issues uh, that we're talking about here, but I don't know about how you can convince yourself scientifically that that works, the will thing. Uh, but the one thing I would, but the earlier point is that I think a lot of people think that these changes have to occur over evolution and I think probably at first Darwin thought that too, but even toward the end, I think he was seeing that these changes can actually happen very rapidly.
Hmm.
Um, you can get an island down to like a pair of tigers, and that one tiger happens to have some weird mutation. Well, he's the only one breeding. The male tiger is sending out all the so the whole breeding population. So if that mutation really helps, they adapted very quickly in that little private area. That's why when Darwin went to each island in the Galapagos, every sparrow was different because they had different adaptations because of their isolation. So actually, these changes can happen pretty quickly
Mm-hmm.
in terms of geologic time. We're not talking about one generation, but we're talking about over a period of 1,000 years, which is nothing geologically speaking, it can happen pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And that can happen to human beings. You get back to that original topic of how we're doing. With the way technology is and the way things are transmitted now, changes can happen very quickly, as we have seen.
Right.
Can you think of 200 years ago how you would have handled a pandemic? you wouldn't have known about it till it was too late. First of
Right,
all,
right.
you would not never have everybody on board because the next town over didn't, and they have their own rules, and so the communication and the way things are transmitted now probably is going to uh, make us change even quicker.
Are you familiar with the book Singularity?
No,
Before we go too far away, Heather was saying at one point maybe its neck grew with the trees. And MC says the giraffe is a matter of competition. Lots of animals can reach the lower leaves. Reaching the top leaves became a specific niche that wasn't filled yet. You still have to evolve to get up there. But I like Heather's statement sparked in my imagination this sort of the tree kept evolving to try to get out of the reach of the giraffe, and the giraffe kept evolving to be able to reach it, and eventually they just gave up, and the tree has leaves that are way up there, and the giraffe has a really long neck. That's how that works, kids.
there you go. I'm okay. I'm good with that.
But
Hi,
I think
Heather.
I think the Singularity. I haven't read it either, but what I gather, a lot of people have grabbed onto that word to describe a potential evolution of the human mind to become sort of one with technology. I think the Singularity is it's sort of like the old '60s school thing of universal consciousness of oneness, but with a sci-fi technological computer artificial intelligence part where we all have like chips in our head that achieves that oneness that the poets have been talking about forever.
Yeah, and of course, so did Hitler.
Right, right. Yeah, when people talk about the singularity, it's not usually in a positive sense. It's usually Orwellian.
Exactly. Exactly.
But
Yeah.
you see that and you're like, oh, that's sort of silly. But then you see how connected we are, like you were just alluding to, and then how integrated our devices become and how we control everything, where we can, you know, cut the thermostat down from our car. You know, we can, however, our people have refrigerators with computer screens built in them where they can control their appliances and communicate with their family and find out the answer to any question Google might have the connectedness is surreal to a certain extent when you imagine 100 years down the road. It's not that hard to imagine that we'd have some chip in our brain to control all that stuff.
Oh, definitely. The chips are out there. Whether we get them put in our head voluntarily or not is another issue. But yeah, the chips are there. I agree.
The
Yeah,
chips are
yeah.
there.
It's wide open for where we might go. But I do think the point being with the technology, what it does say is that these changes can happen very quickly,
Right.
which we're living through right now.
Big time. I can't believe what I've witnessed in my life.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe what I've witnessed in the last month.
Right, right,
I
right.
mean, this is just not the way you ever thought it would be. Um, that you could just turn everything off that quickly from a bad molecule coming out of China.
Right.
Uh, Everything's just changed because of that one little molecule. And guess what? There's plenty more of them molecules where he came
I
from.
know it that's the part that worries me the most probably is the fact that especially as the as the planet warms and stuff like that, it seems like every scientist says that this there's going to be lots of these.
Well, here's something I thought about the other night. I was watching a show about viruses, and they were talking about this virus, and they were talking about its relationship to other viruses. But they had three viruses up there, like H1N1, whatever that was, and MERS, and so you know. and the three that they had above it, the original source was a bat.
Mm-hmm.
The virus came from a bat originally, and then the bat doesn't get too bothered by it, but it carries it,
Right.
and we end up getting it, and it's really harmful to us. So that's the way those kind of things work. But I'm thinking, you know what? Getting back to an earlier discussion, you know what else you don't see out there? Bats. The bats have really taken a hit because of several factors. There's an infectious mite or something that's or a fungus that's getting them, but they're losing habitat and all that thing. But there's a lot of bats that are really having trouble making it out there,
Hmm.
and you just wonder if it's not something we've done to the bats that's causing them to
I
come
think
up with
I
these
think I know
rashes.
what it is.
What is it?
Remember I remember when I was a kid, if we would get in your car and drive out to Deerfield and back, you get back and there you'd have to wash the windshield of all the dead bugs on it.
Right.
And that doesn't happen anymore.
It's true.
Some people say the
True.
windshields have changed, but I'm not sure. I don't think that's true because I was in an old car and had the same phenomenon that there's just not the bugs there used to be. And what's a bat without bugs?
Yeah, I think that's a good point because the habitat's not there. But yeah, the bats have taken a hit. But when it, I said, well, maybe how is this virus related to bats? Because they didn't say that this particular virus was coming from bats, but they did insinuate that it might have been
Right.
wherever it came from. But I'm just thinking, there's a lot of dead bats that are or bats that are sick flying around.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that, or our environment did that, let's put it that way.
Right.
So I don't know. That's a dead end street.
Mm-hmm.
What's everybody doing out there?
Let's see here. All right, the conversation switches from giraffes to viruses right around here. Shannon says a lot of viruses do transfer to us from animals like birds and pigs and chickens and cows and bats when we eat them. Bird flu, swine flu, mad cow disease. MC says insect populations have plummeted due to our excessive pesticide use.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and we just don't know what all these things that we've been adding to the soil to make more crops is. There's just we don't know the chemistry of what that's doing to us. We're just riding along, not knowing.
Yeah, exactly. Praying. Heather Norris in the chat. Miss you, Steve. If the power goes out, let me know, she says.
Yes, hi Heather. It's good. I talked to your dad and Sarah yesterday, and we had a good talk. I was wondering how they were doing, and so we brought your name up and that beautiful little girl you got there. I wouldn't even recognize her probably. I've seen the pictures. She's a beautiful little girl, Alba. So it's nice to hear Heather in the house. Love you.
W has a question. He says, have you heard the theory that says that human brains evolved from the cooking food?
From the cooking of food, or
I guess,
from
yeah,
from
I'd
the
have to hear
eating of
more
the
of that
food?
too. I just read it directly, but let's see. Heather says, we love you, Alba, and I send hugs.
Ah, that's great.
So have you heard the theory that human brains evolved from cooking food? I haven't.
No, I have not heard that. I'd have to have it explained to me before I could argue with it.
I mean, we are the only animal that cooks its food.
Yeah,
Why is that?
well, an evolutionist would say we were evolved to eat fruit and things that were just readily available to us without cooking, and we evolved into a character and moved into a place like um, Europe, and the Ice Age, and we had to kill animals and eat them, and you couldn't digest it without cooking it. So we just figured out a way to eat a new thing.
We can't digest it without cooking it.
Well, it's just
It
not.
just
It, I think you could, but we weren't trained that way. We were not born. We were not carnivores. We were not born to have some of that ability. So I would think that.
W added. I'm not sure if this jives with me necessarily. He says cooking food allows more nutrients that are needed to power a bigger brain. I don't see how cooking the food could allow more nutrients.
Ask him to explain a blue whale, which has a brain the size of a small car and never cooks.
Yeah, there you go. That's all plankton. He says you can't get enough energy to power your brain from eating leaves all day. I think the blue whale is a good question. Are they smart, or is their brain just sort of proportional to their body?
Oh, they're both. They're definitely smart. But man is different than most other organisms for sure. And the brain is the main reason. So there's a lot to be said for the uniqueness of a human brain. As to how it got that way, I don't know about cooking food. I don't know that theory.
It is interesting how much of our imagination we need our imagination, because it seems like as we're pretty bad animals. Like we don't have the fur to keep us warm. We don't have the stomach juices to be able to eat raw meat without dying from it, like animals do every day. I guess that's a lot of that comes from the fact that animals eat immediately as they kill, whereas we have to kill and then transport and then eat later, like no animal ever would. It's that time passage that makes it that we have to cook it.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, I the very thing that you're saying, we're not we're not adapted well to certain things, but what we are, uh, we do have the ability is uh, to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
So that if we had fur, it would be hard to swim.
Ah,
Uh, so if you don't have fur, you can swim, and then when you get out, you can put a coat on.
right,
That's that's allows you to do more than if you had fur.
right.
So there's that factor
Dana
also.
says she can barely hear you.
Who?
Dana.
Well, that's been true for a long time, dear. Just kidding, just kidding.
Yeah, I think the cozier you get, the quieter.
All right. Well, you need to tell me when I'm starting to look like I'm in the morgue. I'm trying to be more alive. 5 o'clock's better than 9 o'clock, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the one thing I could do from my end is it's hard for me to do as a nerd, but I could just make me quieter. That way people could turn up without it's still not ideal. Here, I can just put this further away, so at least we're more lined up.
Yeah, you seem pretty loud to me. No
Well,
offense.
yeah, I'm
Your show.
I'm as loud as I can possibly be. That's for sure. That's part of the game.
There you go.
That's part of the game.
I hear you.
But yeah, like that maybe I should have been doing that the whole time, because they're saying that I've been quite a bit louder. That's the thing I need to figure out here is how, because I just have you all the way up, but there's probably a way that I could make you even louder from my end. That would be the way to do it. Joe says, "Tell
Yeah.
Dad that Hunter just found the the first columbine of the year."
All right.
Wait, that's a flower?
That's that red and yellow flower. It's my favorite. It's in the rock garden.
Mm,
It's a beautiful, beautiful plant. And I didn't see any the other day. They hadn't come out yet. I went out there the other day. So we'll tell her congratulations. That's great. I'll be out sometime this week. Tell him to get those branches cut.
you mean out of the water, right?
The what?
When you say get the branches cut.
Right there, he's got trees hanging up where I want to throw in.
Oh, I got you.
So he needs to trim some branches back so I can cast to that one hole.
Gotcha.
Because I was unable to fit it in between the branches and I was getting hung up the other day. But just needs a little pruning.
You might want to think about opening your backyard up to community garden again somehow or another. Your soil and light there is probably the best in town.
Well, I put it on Facebook last year and I've had a couple people bite, but they never really came through. So, but it's back there. I wish somebody would take care of it.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what grew and how much grew that one year not that long ago that we went for it a little bit.
It's good soil. It's a good garden
And
area.
great light. That's what I've learned a lot about with our house. We can't even grow anything in the back. I mean, it gets some sunlight, but after a few years of trying to grow in different places around our house, I look at little patches like that with envy. I'm like, oh man, I can just imagine what they can grow there.
Well, you can always put one in over here if you want to. You're open. You're wide open.
Yeah, it's good.
I won't even come out and shake your hand.
I'd have to get the plants. That's the hard part at the moment.
Yeah, that won't be a problem.
Yeah, I'm more nervous about all this than you are, which is funny because you're probably more at risk than I am.
Well, I just see it. I thought I heard some of the things you were saying as being a little paranoid in the sense that I look at it in terms of odds. I think with my left brain more than you do. I think
Mm-hmm.
I just look at the odds, and if I've got really good odds, I don't worry about it too much.
Right, right.
I mean, you can worry about anything. I'm going through my life trying to figure out how not to worry about stuff, rather than what else I can worry about.
Yeah, but I could sort of say the same thing. My way of not worrying about it is by not subjecting. Like you know, if I go to the store and buy cookies, then I'll worry that I got the virus on me at the store while I was getting the cookies, and I don't really need the cookies, so I don't go get the cookies. And that's my way of not worrying about it is by not going.
Right. Well, and I'm not criticizing that. That works. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
I do know
But
it.
I just like the cookies more than I just think I don't know how to say this, but I don't, I don't even want to go there. Never mind.
No, what? No, you don't have to. Never mind. I won't push you.
Nah, I had a reason. I didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
It might not sound right.
Right.
I'm going to say something like, I'm not as worried about dying as some people
Right.
because I'm near. I mean, I've, I'm in the gravy train, baby. I am I'm not through, but I am definitely finished with a whole lot of the things I meant to be in my life. And for somebody that's just starting out as a young person, you have their whole life ahead of them. I think you have a different philosophy than I do. And I'm a little bit more laid back about it. And, I hope that doesn't. I'm not saying I have a death wish or anything. Don't go
Right.
there. But I just don't
You're not
worry
afraid of
about it.
it.
I'm not worried about it as much as I used to be, and I think that's a good thing for me because
W
I
in
think
the
that.
W in the chat says, I know my paranoia is not entirely reasonable, but I can't control it, so I just do what I can to avoid the things that trigger it altogether.
That's exactly right.
Right. That makes sense.
That makes all kinds of sense and rationalizes your behavior.
Yeah. We're good at that. We've
Yeah,
evolved to be able to do that.
that's a family tradition.
Well, I feel like, the sun's going down. Maybe we should wrap this one up and do it again soon.
That's fine with me. I've got uh, places to go and people to think about seeing.
Right. What are you watching now? Anything good?
um, the one that I have that I was going to say, if you asked me that question, was that I love this, and I'm not positive, but it's a Netflix documentary. I think it's called Night on Earth, but
Oh,
it's just a documentary that they've learned this new technology where they can take pictures at night of animals and it looks like daytime, and so you're spying on animals in the dark. Well, I've always been a watcher, um, and I spent some time for voyeurism.
right.
So I like watching things. And I've always like my goal, my thing I always wanted to do when I was fishing was be able to walk on the bottom of the lake and look at the fish and actually see them while people are fishing and seeing what they do. I've always wanted to do that. But the second thing I'd like to do is be able to go out in the darkest night and look and see the animals and see what they were doing. Well, this special allows you to do that for the first time. They thought cheetahs never hunted at night. Now they filmed them hunting one night, and now they say they hunt one third of the time at night.
What do they hunt at night?
Well, um, any of the antelope type animals that live there.
What
Any of the things that they
is
hunt
this?
during the day, but they have advantages and disadvantages at night. And the full moon is the light of the moon is amazingly important to all of these creatures, the ones that are hunted and the ones that not. The things that go on in the full moon don't happen any other time. And of course, we have all these things about it, but just on a purely biological point, there's just a whole lot more going on out there on a full moon night because the predators can see and the prey can see the predators, so the ball game changes.
Wow.
And but watching it is fascinating.
Is it some new night camera technology too, where it's not
Yeah.
all
Oh
like?
yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They can add color to it.
That's what I was wondering. Is it still
Yeah.
black and white with the glowing eyes?
Yeah. Well, there's mostly that, but I think they it makes it just look a lot more like daytime all the way around. So yeah, but it really gives you a different view. And I think there's 5 shows, and I've watched 2 or 3 of them, and it's always fascinating. I love that. So
Heather's
that was fun.
Heather's bringing up a point that we've talked a lot about. She says we should get a game camera out at Frank's Mill to watch all the critters. We definitely talked
Oh,
about
yeah,
that.
I definitely want to do that. I would love to be able to do that.
Even if we can't figure out the Wi-Fi version or whatever, so we can watch it in real time, which I know is the ultimate dream. But in the meantime, it might be fun just to have one of those game cameras out there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't have anything more pressing than checking out to see what's going on. If they had a motion detector on it, that'd be great. I'd love to see what was critters were walking by. Joe told me the other day that he and Hunter saw otters out there
Really?
at Trinity Point.
Right.
But
Otters.
yeah, yeah, a
Wow.
family of otters, and I've seen otters at Frank's Mill, but to see them is a wonderful treat.
That is an
And
amazing thing. I don't know if
they
I've ever
are.
seen one.
If an otter was a bird, I'd say you were an otter.
I'll be an otter. That sounds like
Who
some.
would turn that job down?
Yeah, I just got a big smile on my face thinking of that.
Yeah, they are wonderful creatures. Unless you're a fish, they're pretty bad on the fish.
Good, they're good fishers, huh?
Oh my goodness, you know, they can wipe you out. They're voracious feeders. They really they like to eat fish and will just go after them. But they def- they're definitely good predators.
Kendi
But
just
they're
gave me a new band name. Lex and I could change our project to the Whole Otter.
well, there you go.
Uh-oh, this might stick. I might have to learn more about otters. I don't really remember seeing otters. I feel like maybe I have, but it's definitely not. That would be a very rare thing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have too many otter stories in my bag.
Beavers are the same way, though. You see their handiwork everywhere, but it seems like it's really rare to really have a good beaver sighting.
Yeah, yeah. But if you know where beavers live, you can go find them. Otters are always on the roll.
Right.
They don't have one home. They just go up and down the river. Um, but yeah, I hadn't seen otters very often when I was living out in there, but I have seen them at both places.
Why
It's
do
great to
why do beavers build dams?
well.
Is it just where they live?
They, you think about where they usually build their dams or used to. We're in these little our little valleys, little creek valleys that come out of the mountains. So when you've got a little creek there, well, there's no protection for a beaver. So they find a flattened area where that water's flowing through and build their dam, and then it gives you a pond. Well, now they can go hide. So they create an ecosystem where they can be safe, and and then fish live in those ponds, and then uh, that creates a
What a
whole
crazy
dynamic.
miracle of evolution that whole thing is. To eventually evolve the flat tail to pat down the mud, the teeth to be able to chop down trees basically to build your nest.
Yeah, well, they it begins with them just eating the trees, and then they realize that they could do something with
Are they
the
actually
root.
eating the trees?
Yeah, they eat the bark, the cambium, the fresh, not the dead bark, but they eat that living tissue between the in the tree. So they're feeding on that
Wow.
green tree, and
Do they
they get
also
that.
eat the fish in the pond that they make?
No, I was wrong about. I didn't. I went down that road and I realized that they're vegetarians.
Uh,
They don't. They might eat a snail now and then, but they're pretty much herbivores.
so why do they want to be on the water?
For protection, that idea that they create their own pond.
Ah,
So you got a creek. They can't hide in a creek, but they can hide in a pond. All they got to do is swim down and lay on the bottom for a couple minutes. So
ah.
they change the ecosystem to fit to make themselves. It's like they built a moat around their castle.
Right.
They
It's
controlled their environment.
it's pretty amazing.
Yep. It really is.
Well, I enjoyed our time together, Dad. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, it was what a treat to have all three of my boys in the house,
Yeah.
and that was wonderful. That was quite a treat right there. Yeah, that was good. I'm good. I feel better about this one. I think I can
It'll
remember.
get better each time.
Yeah,
Less confusing.
yeah. Well, we still had our glitches, but we'll work through it and learn
Yeah,
and
we
learn.
rolled with the punches really well though.
Yeah. All right. Good enough. I'll,
Awesome. Love
I'm
you.
gonna. I love you. I'll check in later. Goodbye, everyone. I love all you guys, and take care of yourselves out there.
Perfect.
Have fun. Have some fun out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good
it's
advice
not
right
all
there.
bad.
It's not.
All right. Well, that was fun. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk to you about it, and we'll move on. And I think I'm gonna get off of here and go do something else for a while.
Awesome.
All
Bye.
right. Are you gonna get back on later?
Probably
Yeah, probably.
the late night show
Yeah.
has become a thing.
All right. Well, good. Good.
Yeah,
Tell everybody I said hi.
I will.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Cool. Well, how about that? Thanks for watching, everybody. Over and out. I was gonna do a leaving song, but I really have to pee, and and the videos aren't working, so I don't know how to stall. So we'll just let it lie. It was a very fun show. See you soon. Over and out.